what made him even more powerful than Durvasa Muni was his connection with the Lord. So Kunti Devi also glorifies this connection in her prayers. The last prayer, 1:843, she says, Shri Krishna Krishna Sakha Vrishni Vishabhava Nitruk Rajanya Vankshadahana Pavir Vargavirya Govinda Go Dijasar Arti Haravatara Yogeshwara Kila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. O Krishna, friend of Arjuna, chief amongst the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements on this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distresses of the cows, brahmanas, and devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty Lord. I offer you my respectful obeisances. So Krishna's name is Krishna Sakha, means he's related to Arjuna eternally as a friend. So Krishna is prepared to make you a friend. So he comes. Please come, become my friend. Make Krishna your friend. Make Krishna your son. And then you'll never lament, oh, my son is lost, or my son has gone bad. Yes, we lament. Rishabha, he's the chief, best man, the chief of the Vrishni dynasty. And Avanidruk, he puts down the rebellious parties which disturb this earth. And his name is Anapavarga Virya. He shows you the path how to be Anapavarga. Pavarga, the path of Pavarga is pa, pa, ba, pa, ma. That pa, so hard labor that pa, there's foam coming out of the mouth. And pa, pa, ba, frustration, vyartata. And then there's ha, baya, fear. And at the end, ma, death. So that is this material world. And Anapavarga Virya, Krishna says, surrender to me, I'll give you Anapavarga Virya. We were talking about Krishna this morning in this morning's Bhagavatam class in Ireland. Yes, that was when you were probably having Mangalarti or sleeping. Who knows, 5 hours ago it was, probably sleeping. And so we were talking about this verse, Sarva Dharmam Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, that you just surrender to me. And there was a very beautiful translation of Prabhupada in the purport in 2nd Canto 4th chapter, Prayers of Shukadeva, verse 16. And Krishna was saying, give yourself to me, give yourself to me. So he didn't demand surrender, but he said, give yourself to me, like a lover to a beloved. So that's Krishna. He's our lover, he's our brother, he's our friend, he's our son, he's everything. And he's waiting for us to turn to him, to give ourselves to him. You know, so we're having difficulties now, and when the brahmanas are disturbed, then Krishna comes. And so much suffering. Now the key word here in this verse is Yogeshwara, the Kunti says, because here we have the story of Durvasa, who is amazing yogi. He can travel to Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, and even to the spiritual world. But what was the use? He was nothing compared to Ambarish Maharaj, who was just a humble devotee who was in a lower caste. So he thought he was better because he had so many mystic powers. But Krishna is Yogeshwara. So Srila Prabhupada commented on that we're not interested in these mystic cities. Just like we're a rich man's son. He doesn't worry about earning money because he knows my father's rich. If I need money, my father will supply. So Prabhupada says we take shelter of Yogeshwara, master of all mystic power. If you want to see some Asta-siddhi yoga, they take shelter of Krishna, and he will show. Why should I take so much trouble? Why? So people say in the Western world, I have done wonderful things, Prabhupada said, but I did not show any siddhi. Of course, some devotees did say they saw some cities that he wasn't touching the ground when he walked. He did. I mean, I did experience when I went on a morning walk with Prabhupada that, I was like in my 20s, he was in his 70s, and he was going so fast, I couldn't keep up with him. And I was trying to figure it out. How is this? And when he would come to the airport in the West, also devotees would say that they were watching Prabhupada, and the devotees were running, and he was just walking very peacefully. So yes, Prabhupada he said, I did not show any siddhi. It's Krishna's desire. He has shown. Krishna is pleased that for me, this person has come to serve me. See how wonderful it is. So instead of becoming a yogi, you just take shelter of Yogeshwara, and all mystic power will be under your control. So Krishna is Yogeshwara, Krishna is Anapavarga Virya. His power is unlimited. And if we take shelter of Krishna, we come surrendered to Krishna, all power of Krishna is behind us. And Krishna is so kind. Even now, this age, we cannot do our worship properly, but we can chant the holy name anywhere. And Krishna is there with all his power. So it looks like Amrish was put into a little distress. Yes, he really had to depend on Krishna. So how does distress help us depend on Krishna? There's this verse in 10th canto, 88th chapter, verse 8. Yasyaham anugrihami harisheta tanam shanai. The Lord said, if I especially favor someone, I gradually deprive him of his wealth. Then his relatives and friends of such a poverty-stricken man abandon him. In this way, he suffers one distress after another. And so in the purport of that verse, it explains devotees of the Lord experience happiness and distress, not as karma, not as consequences of material work, but as incidental effects of their loving reciprocation with the Lord. Yeah, so now there is this COVID happening, and devotees are also leaving their bodies. And devotees, I know some devotees in USA are suffering 1 year from the COVID. It didn't go away from them. Young people who were very healthy, and this COVID is not going away. And so they asked one of our devotees, senior guru, why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? And he said, well, yes, it's not your karma, but Krishna is protecting you from something else that could happen. So he's putting you on hold right now. Anyway, we don't appreciate it when it happens to us, but it does happen. And it is Krishna, and he is doing. So Rupa Goswami in Nectar Devotion explains how a Vaishnava is relieved of all karmic reactions, including those who have not yet begun to manifest, aparabdha, and those about to manifest, kuta, those barely manifesting, bija, and those manifested fully, parabdha. So yes, if we take shelter of Krishna, he says, don't worry, I'll protect you. But then a question may be raised. This is from Krishna book, chapter 88. Prabhupada is saying this. If the Lord is all powerful, why should he try to reform his devotee by putting him in distress? The answer is when the Lord puts his devotee in distress, it's not without purpose. Sometimes the purpose is in distress, the devotee's feelings of attachment to Krishna are magnified. For example, when Krishna, before leaving the capital of Pandavas, asked Kunti for permission to leave, she said, my dear Krishna, in our distress, you're always present with us. Now we've been elevated to a royal position, you are leaving us. So I would prefer to live in distress than to lose you. So when a devotee is put into a situation of distress, his devotional activities are accelerated. So to show special favor to a devotee, the Lord sometimes puts him into distress. Besides that, it's stated the sweetness of happiness is sweeter to those who have tasted bitterness. The Lord comes here just to protect his devotees from distress. So if devotees are not in a distressed condition, oh, hold on, I got to plug in my computer. It's my bad. I might hope it doesn't turn off. Okay. Oh, it's still there. When devotees are in a distressed condition, they were not, then the Lord wouldn't have come. And the Vaishnava who enjoys such reciprocation with the Lord is in no danger of falling down into nations. So Yamaraj Yamaraj says, he declares, Jivana Bhakti Bhagavat Guna Namadheyam, my dear servants, please bring to me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose heads do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform their duties toward Vishnu, which are the only duties in human life. Please bring me all such fools and rascals. So when Prabhupada was giving a lecture in Gorakhpur, India, in 1971 it was, on the verses of 6th canto, he changed the translation of this verse. There were many nice Indian gentlemen in the class. And Prabhupada said, please bring to me anyone who does not become a life member of ISKCON. Everyone became a life member of ISKCON. No, Prabhupada was preaching. He had his own translation sometimes. So yes, in distress, and yes. So the purport of this purport of 10th canto. Beloved devotees of the Lord do not regard as very troublesome the suffering he imposes on them. Indeed, they find in the end it gives rise to unlimited pleasure. Just as a stinging ointment applied by a physician cures his patient's infected eye. In addition, suffering helps protect the confidentiality of devotional service by discouraging intrusions by the faithless, and it increases eagerness with which the devotees call upon the Lord to appear. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments, it says, night, the sunrise becomes attractive. During hot summer, cold water gives comfort. During cold winter months, warm water is pleasing. Lamplight appears attractive in darkness, not in the glaring light of day. And when one is distressed by hunger, food tastes especially good. In other words, to strengthen his devotee's mood of dependence on him and longing for him, the Lord arranges for his devotees to go through some suffering. And when he appears in order to deliver them, their gratitude and transcendental pleasure are boundless. So Bali Maharaj, when everything was taken away from him, he said in 8th canto, 22nd chapter, only by providence have I been forcibly brought under your lotus feet and deprived of all my opulence. Because of the illusion created by temporary opulence, people in general who live under material conditions, facing accidental death at every moment, do not understand this life is temporary. Only by providence have I been saved from that condition. I think a lot of people now are realizing with this COVID thing how temporary life is, as we are losing near and dear ones. Life is temporary. Prahlad Maharaj says, my Lord, it's your lordship who gave this Bali the great opulence of the post of the heavenly king. And now today it's you who have taken it all away. I think you have acted with equal beauty in both ways. Because his exalted position as king of heaven was putting him in the darkness of ignorance, you have done him a very merciful favor by taking away all his opulence. So Gajendra also had that. He was a king in his previous life, Maharaj Indradumna Maharaj, and he became an elephant. He lost everything, and then he was enjoying as king of the elephants. But then he got into dangerous situation with the crocodile biting his foot, and they were fighting, and he was losing the battle. So Prabhupada said that the king of the elephants was so eager to see the Lord. When he saw the Lord coming in the sky with great pain and a feeble voice, he offered respect to the Lord. Devotee does not consider a dangerous position to be dangerous, for in such a dangerous position, he can fervently pray to the Lord in great ecstasy. So a devotee regards danger as a good opportunity. Mercy of the Lord, because it's an opportunity to think of the Lord very sincerely and with undiverted attention. Yes, I mean, I was not in danger when I came to Ireland, but I had to be in quarantine in a hotel for 11 days. And without any freedom, you couldn't go out of the door of your room into the hallway. So, yeah, and you think more about Krishna, in solitary confinement. So that was an interesting experience, how all our freedom was taken away. As Prabhupada said, first-class prisoner. I was a first-class prisoner. Posh hotel, which I had to pay for, and be a first-class prisoner. But I really want to go back to India. So whatever I have to do to go back to India, that's good. It says here in this purport, in that purport of 88, he does not accuse the Lord for having let his devotee fall into such a dangerous condition. Rather, he considers that dangerous condition to be due to his past misdeeds and take it as an opportunity to pray to the Lord and offer thanks for having been given such an opportunity. Yes, so that happened on the first day I arrived in Ireland. I was separated from my luggage, and not only I was separated, I was in the airplane watching my luggage being taken away from the plane, and that was very disturbing. And then my arm dislocated, which it does every once in a while on the plane. And then when I got to the hotel, my arm dislocated again. And oh my God, what a arrival in Ireland. It wasn't. So I was trying to think why, thank you, Krishna, why this happens, why this happened to me. And I thought of one reason for the luggage not coming with me. And that was so I didn't have to take it off of the belt in the luggage arrival place, luggage claims, because my arm probably would have been in much worse condition, or anyway, it could have been worse. And so it was delivered right to the door of my room, of course, the next day, but still, at least it was delivered nicely. And so we have to remember to thank Krishna when distress comes. You have to remember to say, thank you, Krishna. I don't understand why this is happening, but then when you say thank you, you have to think of a reason why, a good reason, at least 10 good reasons if you do an exercise. As old Prabhupada said, I have actual experience in this connection. I do not wish to narrate the whole story, but it is a fact I received Krishna's special favor in this way. When I was 25 years old, my Guru Maharaj ordered me to go preach, but I thought, first of all, I'll become a rich man. Then I'll use my money to finance the preaching work. I had good opportunities to become a very rich businessman. Astrologer even told me I should have become as rich as the wealthiest man in India. There were good chances. I was a manager of a big chemical factory. I started my own factory. The business was very successful, but eventually everything collapsed. And in this way, I was forced into the position of carrying out the orders of my Guru Maharaj. When all my material assets were taken away, I approached Krishna saying, you are the only shelter. Krishna is a kinchana vita, property of the materially impoverished. When one is bereft of all material opulences and one turns to Krishna, and now I'm realizing I have not lost, but gained. Yeah, I mean, my 2 suitcases that were on that was all everything I had in this world for 2 months. And you really feel like you have nothing but the clothes on your back. It's very difficult to be like that. And so Narottam Das Thakur says, Haha Prabhu Nanda Sutta Vishabhanu Sutta Juta Karuna Karo Haibar Narottama Dasa Koi Nate Ranga Pai Tama Bine Ke Achihamar. Krishna, but for you I have nothing to claim. I have no possessions. You are my only possession, so please don't neglect me. So here everyone is trying to possess something more education, more wealth, more beauty. Materialism, and spiritualism is the opposite. And again, Prabhupada refers to his own life, and he says, Guru Maharaj was asking me to come out, and I was afraid, I have to give up my family, become a sannyasi. This is horrible. But he forced me. He's so kind. And Prabhupada said, now I understand how this was so much mercy. I had 5 children, now I have 500 when he gave this lecture. So we should remember, so he's speaking in Mayapur now, that we possess this nice house not for our comfort. So that was the first building, the Lotus building. So people will come here because they're not accustomed to sitting under the tree. If we would have invited, come and sit down on the ground, who would come? So we have to have a nice temple so people will come and we can preach. And that is philosophy, not that we become attached to the rooms in the house. So he said, my Guru Maharaj introduced big palaces, temples. That is a contribution of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The Goswamis, they worship Krishna in a different method. Went to Vrindavan, living under the tree, and not even the same tree. One night under one tree, next night next tree. So this vairagya is not possible for the Western people. So we need these buildings. We need them. And that is the contribution. Unless Prabhupada said we live comfortably, it's not possible. So again, Prabhupada tells his reaction in another lecture. Krishna says, when I show somebody my special favor, I take away all his money. And Prabhupada said, Krishna will take away all my money? And he said, actually, that happened. He took all my money, all family, all friends, everything. And he asked me, go to America. You'll get more money, more friends. Go ahead, come here. So that was his intention. And I was sticking to limited money, limited friends, limited society. This is a special favor. Now in Krishna book, Prabhupada says about this, these verses from 10th canto. When a devotee is put into so-called miserable conditions, bereft with riches and family, he tries to revive his original position of material opulence. Although he tries again and again, Krishna again and again takes away all his resources. That he finally becomes disappointed in material activities. And in that stage of frustration in all endeavors, he can fully surrender to the Lord. Such persons are advised by the Lord from within to associate with devotees. Yeah, I know one of my god sisters, she joined in Boston where I was. And what happened to her is she lost all her possessions and all she had left was the clothes on her back. And then she went to swim in the ocean and the ocean took away those too. So she really had that experience of losing everything. So Yudhishthira was asking, why is it that, devotees of Lord Shiva, they get everything, devotees of Vishnu, they lose everything? And so Krishna said to Yudhishthira, my devotee is not deterred by any adverse condition of life. He always remains firm and steady. So I give myself to him and I favor him so he can achieve the highest success of life. So it's very interesting. If you read the 10th canto after this verse, where Krishna takes away everything, there's another verse later, a few verses later. And it explains that what is this mercy that the devotee gets who's been tried by the Lord? And there's a lot of Sanskrit words to describe this mercy. The first one is Brahma. This means the greatness of that mercy can be compared only to the all-pervasive greatness of Brahman. Unlimited great, unlimitedly expanding. So the mercy is expanding. The mercy is great. It is also described as Paramam because it has no comparison in this material world. It's also called Sukshmam, very fine. Not only is the Lord's mercy on the tried devotee great, unlimited, expansive, it's the finest quality of love between the devotee and the Lord. Another word is Chin Matram, completely spiritual. Matra means absolute spirituality, no tinge of material qualities. And the mercy is also Sat, eternal, and Anantakam. So this is described in Krishna book, chapter 88. So when things happen to us in this world, when distress comes while living in this world, we can understand that Krishna is being merciful to us to bring us closer to him. So we have to see the hand of Krishna in all areas of our lives and pray to him so we have the strength to love him and serve him. So what is the power of pure devotees? Prabhupada, I would like to talk now. I'd like to talk about the glance of Srila Prabhupada and how it affected devotees and this, my God brothers and God sisters. The glance of Krishna, Kunti glorifies Krishna's glance. And she says, because of your glance, our kingdom is flourishing and everything is all right. And so we used to, when Prabhupada was here, we would have problems when Prabhupada was away. And when he would come and look at us, he would say, oh, is everything all right? And as he glanced at us, we couldn't remember what the problem was. So that's the power of the pure devotee. Radhanath Swami describes one day, as Srila Prabhupada was walking to his car, so this is when he was a new devotee. This is before he actually joined practically. Of course, he was already a follower of Srila Prabhupada. One day, as Srila Prabhupada was walking to his car after giving a lecture, I, along with crowds of other people, bowed down to him. When I got up, Srila Prabhupada was in front of me. I was on my knees looking up at Srila Prabhupada, who had a serious, concerned expression and was looking right at me. I felt he was looking into my soul, and it was touched by Srila Prabhupada's glance. Never before in my life had I had a sensation like that. Srila Prabhupada asked, "So, how long have you been living in Vrindavan?" And Radhanath Maharaj I thought, oh no, all the devotees have been chastising me. Now Srila Prabhupada's going to chastise me. Shyly, I said, "Srila Prabhupada, I've been here about 6 months." Prabhupada stood silently looking at me, penetrating me with his glance. It seemed like hours. Perhaps it was about 30 seconds. Then his face blossomed into a beautiful, ecstatic smile. And he said, "Very nice. Vrindavan is a most wonderful place." He rubbed me on the head and walked on. I thought, everyone is chastising me for being in Vrindavan, but Prabhupada knows what I need to hear to become attached to him. After that, I was ready to go anywhere and do anything for him because I felt he understood and loved me. His encouragement made me attached to him and to devotional service. So yes, then he went to New Vrindavan and preached. Jadharani talks about it. If Prabhupada just casually or even quickly looked at us, it had tremendous significance. Like many devotees, I felt he wasn't just seeing me. It was almost embarrassing, but at the same time, it was not embarrassing because you knew not only was he seeing beyond the body, but he was seeing beyond the faults and beyond the interactions, the modes of nature. He was seeing the soul, which is so full of wonderful qualities. It was embarrassing, and then it went beyond embarrassing. It was blissful when he would glance at you. We hear that when Krishna took lunch with his cowherd boyfriends, everyone would think he's just looking at me, just me and him. And that's how it was with many of us in Prabhupada. If 10 people were in the room with him, each had a personal story of the same moments. There are a few experiences that I had with Prabhupada's glance. He called me into his greeting room because some young Indian gentleman had come to speak with him. Prabhupada offered them samaha sweet, and before they ate it, they put it to their head. We had never done that. He glanced at me and indicated we should be that respectful to prasadam. So much is in a glance. Now in Australia, Bhakti Arthur was a boxer for the South Sydney Leagues Club. He was a tough guy. He had a carpet laying business. Prabhupada's eyes stopped at Arthur. Arthur was looking at Prabhupada in the eye, and Prabhupada was looking at Bhakti Arthur. Bhakti Arthur recalls that he was looking and looking and looking, and Prabhupada's gaze was so intense, eventually he had to look away. Prabhupada's gaze was affectionate but grave at the same time. Bhakti Arthur, who later became a Jamil, said, this glance brought him closer to Krishna consciousness. Along with that glance came all the blessings of Prabhupada and disciplic succession. He felt impregnated with something spiritual at that time. So here's Sachinandan Swami as a new devotee. Also, before initiation, he remembers the glance of Prabhupada. One incident showed me how a pure devotee can infuse a receptive soul with conviction and spiritual strength. Devotees were going to Oxford Street to chant and distribute magazines. I was standing outside wondering whether I should go with the Sankirtan party or stay back and study Prabhupada's books. I looked up to Prabhupada's room, and suddenly Srila Prabhupada appeared at the window and looked down at the Harinam party. Pleased at the sight, he smiled broadly. Immediately, it was clear to me what to do. I remember that day well. Prabhupada's glance and smile had made me so enthusiastic even after the party returned. I went back out with Vasudev, and we just continued to chant and dance through the streets of London and distribute back to Godhead magazines. We felt so inspired by Srila Prabhupada's personal presence and spiritual potency that we didn't care for anything else in the world. Just as Lord Chaitanya would give people spiritual energy simply by looking at them or embracing them, Srila Prabhupada would empower his followers in similar ways. So now at Heathrow Airport, Sachinandan Swami, again, after I thought Prabhupada had already passed, I lifted my head. To my surprise, I saw before me a pair of slippers. I looked up and looked right into Prabhupada's eyes. He seemed to welcome me into his family. I was overwhelmed, and at that very moment, something transpired between Krishna's pure devotee and this fallen soul. I could feel his immense potency in attracting souls to Krishna. When I saw Srila Prabhupada standing before me, aglow with spiritual mercy, I felt much attraction to his lotus feet. It became clear to me I should surrender to him, and I knew he recognized me and would accept me. So here's from some Vaishnavis. This one, Sarvamangala. When Prabhupada glanced, there's a book called Bond of Love, which you can get, and a lot of stories are there. When Prabhupada glanced at us, we felt he knew us, our spiritual identity, who we actually were. His glance held more than compassion. He saw us as spiritual personalities. And from his glance, we had more of an understanding of our spiritual identity. In Prabhupada's association, we got knowledge of ourselves. His glance informed us we weren't this body, and it brought us into the spiritual world because Prabhupada spiritual world with him since he's with Krishna world. And every time we saw him, to some extent, we experienced these transcendental truths. Now here's another one. The last time I saw Srila Prabhupada was in 1977 in February in Mayapur. In class, Prabhupada was looking at all the devotees individually. When he looked at me in his glance, he gave me love and affection and communicated, I'm yours, you're mine, and I'm bringing you to Krishna. I could see he had been there for me for many lifetimes, and he was saying, please come back to Krishna. It was like a glimpse of the spiritual world. And so we should depend on Krishna by the example of Ambarish Maharaj, depend on Krishna and get a mystic power from Krishna by depending on his mystic power. Meditate on Krishna's lotus feet, meditate on Srila Prabhupada, and try to get the glance of the deities also, so we can be happy and satisfied in this world. So I'll stop here. If there's any questions or comments, we can do that now.
Thank you, Mother Narayani. Thank you so much for your wonderful talk. If anybody else has any questions or comments, please feel free to share now.
Hare Krishna, Narayani Prabhu. Thank you so much for the class. I have a question about a section that you quoted where you mentioned, I don't know if I wrote it correctly. It said suffering keeps the confidentiality.
Oh yeah, that was from a purport.
I don't understand what that means. If you could clarify a little further, please.
Yeah, suffering keeps the confidentiality. Yeah, because when the devotee suffers, it's part of his confidential relationship with Krishna. And when the non-devotees see the devotee suffering, they think, oh, they're non-different from us. So why should we, go to Krishna? Why should we try to understand even? It keeps atheists away from disturbing the activities of the devotees. Actually, confidentiality. It's a very confidential relationship with Krishna. So when we experience some suffering, then our relationship with Krishna becomes more close, more intimate, and we see him more in our lives. And we see how he comes and delivers us, and then our faith increases. So when the devotee experiences distress, their faith increases. When the non-devotee experiences distress, they blame God. Their faith decreases. And so it has a different reaction. So the confidentiality means the relationship of the devotee with the Lord will become more confidential, more serious, more loving when they see that when you look back, often things happen and you look back and you think, oh yeah, this was probably for the best. And we can appreciate it. And then our faith increases, our love for Krishna increases.
Hare Krishna. I have a question here sent to me. I hope it is supposed to be anonymous. Like, let me just read it. Like, if somebody is insincere in general in devotional service, it feels difficult to understand that everything that is happening to me is through Krishna, because why would Krishna involve in my life if I'm insincere?
If you're in, well, there is a purport actually to this Maharaj Ambarish. I'm going to look up this purport for you if I can find it. And I think this will answer your question. It's in the 4th chapter. And if I'm correct, I think it might be text 64. No, that one we read already. Oh, that's a beautiful one too. That's really beautiful. That's why it's there. Oh, let's see. You know, I don't know if I can find this profile. Oh, it's 64. Okay, let's see. That verse. It's about protection, actually. Yeah, I can't remember it. Let me see if I look it up in the back. I can find it because it's really a great purport for you to hear word by word. And if I say it, it might not come out the same. I can tell it. I can paraphrase it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Yes, it's coming here. 154. It's in this. No. No. Yeah, I can't seem to. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay, so I'll tell you what this purport says. 36. Yeah. Protection by the Lord for devotee. Okay, there's more. Let me look here. Oh, that's again chapter 4. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, I'll just paraphrase it for you. That he says, you may have the question, you know, okay, I'm a devotee. When does the protection of the Lord begin? You may have that question. Or you're saying, okay, I'm not a pure devotee. Basically, your question, I'm not a pure devotee. So why should he protect me? So in that purport, Prabhupada says that from the very beginning of our devotional service, Krishna will protect us immediately.
9448.
Is it 48? Oh, you know
Yeah.
it. Oh, thank you. You got it. You found it. Wow, cool. Let's read it. Oh, yeah, 48. Okay. Here we go. There's a sentence. This protection is offered to a devotee even from the very beginning of his devotional service. If one simply begins devotional service, he's immediately protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Ahang tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayashami. Protection begins immediately. So you got it. You got your protection. Yeah. Protection begins immediately. And so Krishna doesn't see the faults in us. That just like Putana, even she was protected. Of course, she had to change her body, but she became Krishna's mother, and she came to kill Krishna. Can you imagine? And still, he saw the good. So he doesn't see the faults. He sees the good in us. And that was part of what I quoted also, how Krishna does not see the faults. He sees the good. Okay, any other?
Thank you so much, Mataji. It was very powerful that you immediately pulled up a reference for it. Thank you very much. It's so inspiring to study like by your inspiration.
Prabhupada
there is a devotee.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can complete, sorry.
I just say, you know, the best person to answer our questions is Srila Prabhupada. He has the best answers. So it's better if we can quote him.
Okay. Not everybody can actually do that, so it's very inspiring to see you do that. There is a Mataji, Kamala Mataji, raising her hands. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandot Pranam. Thank you so much for such beautiful class. I had a question where how it's related to preaching. So Prabhupada says that when you have the purity, you can preach, and it goes a long way, depending on your purity. So when if there's somebody else also along with you who wants to preach but is not sincere in doing his, a good sadhana, and you cannot avoid that person because you want to give that person an opportunity to preach. And also, that is something better than nothing in spiritual life. But it just is like, it's always like service. That person loves to do the service, but he's not too sincere in following his sadhana. So how can we deal, how will I able to deal with him, or how can I inspire him so that he can do his sadhana well? I'm sorry.
Well, the only way you can do that is to be an example. If you want to inspire someone, you have to be the example of what you want them to be inspired by. You have to be enthusiastic. The 6 qualities from Nectar of Instruction: enthusiasm. That why you like to do your sadhana. You can tell, oh, I love to chant. I can't wait till I get my hand in my bead bag. Japa is so much fun. So, there's some affirmations you can read by Mahatma online about chanting japa. And my bead bag is my ticket to the spiritual world. You can inspire like that. You can do that. But there is sometimes when you go out preaching, sometimes it's not easy. Your preaching partner may give you some problem. I had one preaching partner, and we were in India. We were going to the Bombay airport and distributing books in the airport. And she used to jump on the conveyor belt when it was moving. I thought she was pretty crazy. But Nityananda, Advaita, Haridas was complaining about his preaching partner, Nityananda, that he would jump into the river and embrace the crocodiles and float down while they were going place to place. And he would go to the young girls and ask them to marry him. And he would go and milk the cows and take the milk, drink the milk. So yeah, we have to be patient, we have to be tolerant, but we do have to be a good example of patience and tolerance, and at the same time, try to see the good qualities and appreciate the good qualities of the person and encourage them in that way. Oh, I see, you must, yeah. And encourage them to chant. Yes, by chanting, then you'll get more connection with the super soul, and that will help you to reach people, to reach different people. Because a lot of book distributors, they pray while they're distributing books or while they're preaching for help to Super Soul, to Lord Chaitanya, to Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much. Dandat Pranam.
Okay.
Hi, Krishna. If there are any other questions or appreciations? Hi, Krishna. Thank you very much, Mother Narayani. Extremely grateful to you for taking out your time. We hope your hand gets better, and we would like to see you land in India much.
Yeah, me too. I hope so.
Safely.
Thank you. Pray for that.
Yes. Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for taking your time. Narayani Devi ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.